All right. Wow. I did not expect this news to break. Let me put it this way. Disney had that what was it called? Inventor something. It was a couple days ago where it was just non-stop trailers and announcement for Star Wars fans, Marvel fans, Disney fans in general. There was just so much being dropped at once. I have not come anywhere near close to just sitting down and reading up on everything that was released because, to put it in perspective, Thursday I was out shopping and I was sleeping. If I wasn't sleeping, I was shopping. If I wasn't shopping, I was sleeping. Yesterday, long day getting stuff ready for eBay shipment, had about 75 figures, and that ended up being in 55 boxes. USPS came today. I helped them load it on the truck. That's done. Hence why I did, like, what was it, 17 or so videos within the span of 36 hours, because I had to get a lot of stuff done in a short amount of time. So this news just popped out of nowhere. Sister Act 3 is actually officially happening. Now, I know Hocus Pocus 2 that I did see too, but this is happening. Disney Plus. What are my thoughts? The only reason I'm really bringing this up is because Tyler Perry is producing the film. Let me say this much. First of all, like the video, hit that subscribe button, click the bell notification icon and select all. That way you keep up to date whenever I post new content to the channel, and follow me on my social media platforms. Links are in the description below. Okay. Just to do a brief overview of like the different articles, Disney has announced that a third installment of Sister Act is in development, with Whoopi Goldberg reprising her starring role nearly 30 years, 3 decades after the original film was hailed by audiences worldwide. First of all, I didn't even know how early these films came out. Now, I was born in 91 and I grew up watching the movies. I just had no idea what year they came out. Not to mention, I didn't know that Sister Act 2 came out the following year. Sister Act 1, 92. Sister Act 2, 93. Those movies just look and feel so different that I honestly would not have been surprised if, let's say, Sister Act 2 came out like, let's say, 98, 99. But no, they came out back to back. And both are very good quality films. I feel like, in a way, Sister Act 1 is like off the wall, but Sister Act 2 is like Thriller, in the sense that even though Off the Wall did very well, broke records, Thriller just came through and busted the doors off of everything. So people forget how successful Off the Wall was because of how big Thriller was. I honestly feel the same thing can be said about Sister Act 1 when you look at Sister Act 2. I mean, Lauryn Hill, Joyful, Joyful, Oh Happy Day, His Eyes on the Sparrow, just the youthful energy of that second film is why I resonated with it more, because I was a kid, obviously, when it came out. And if you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. That movie came out in 93. I turned 30 next year and I still live by that quote because it's so relatable. Now, the first one, amazing. It was a good storyline. I just loved it. You know, a casino lounge singer goes into witness protection as a nun and works to revitalize the church. It was such a great thing because Sister Act 1 actually relates to my church life, if you will, back home, because it's a church that has mostly older people who don't really want to, I guess you could say, step into the future when it comes to like technology and, you know, kind of ramp up the old hymns. So they're pretty much stuck in the past. So it's a matter of rejuvenation in order to get things back on track. But, you know, given the pandemic and whatnot, it's, well, you know. But let me just say that I enjoy both films, but I'm not going to sit up. Okay, I don't want to prejudge the film before it comes out. Tyler Perry is producing. It says influential producer Tyler Perry is signed on to helm the project. Disney said, but no release date was given. That's completely fine, because of the fact that there was a lot announced. And I know that even though the pandemic's still going, there are a lot of shows and movies that are in development. I mean, yeah, some of them might have standstill moments because somebody tests positive, but in most cases, you know, I've been hearing stories where, let's say, if a cast member or somebody on a crew is, you know, testing positive, they'll be put into quarantine, as well as those who may have come in contact with him. But then they'll film stuff with the other, cast and crew or whatever the case may be. But I really wanted to set up this video with some positivity about my own relationship with Sister Act before getting to the nitty gritty. I posted a photo on Instagram and the YouTube community tab just to kind of get a feel for what people think about it. Now, let me just say this. Tyler Perry, just congrats to him, because earlier this year, A Fall from Grace came on Netflix. And then he's working on this project, which is coming to BET Plus. And remember, he's a part owner of, oh, I'm sorry, did I say that wrong? He has the Sister Act project coming to Disney Plus. And then, of course, he's like part owner of BET Plus. So Tyler Perry's kind of, branching out into the streaming service game. And I ain't mad at him. Go ahead and do your thing. I'm just nervous, though, because even though it just says producer, I believe this means there's going to be somebody else directing. I just hope that when it comes to Sister Act 3, Tyler Perry does right by it. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't care if it was the original producers and directors and writers of the first 1 and 2. Honestly, I don't know if the same people did both movies. I don't know. I just know that even if the same people who worked on the first and second film came back for the third, I would still be skeptical of what the third one would do. The quality of it and things like that. But when it comes to Tyler Perry, I'm very nervous because, like I said, he's producer, not director. I just hope they take their time, because if it turns out that Sister Act 3 was filmed in like 3 days or 10 days or less, then I'm not going to be happy, just because looking at how Tyler Perry does his own thing with, let's say, Nobody's Fool, A Fall from Grace, those movies notorious for being filmed in like 10 days or less, and the quality of those films were not very good. Then when you look at his shows that he does everything on, like House of Pain, Bruh, and everything like that, where he films it in a matter of like 10 days or less, or sometimes 12, whatever the case may be. What was it? Bruh season 2 was filmed in 5, but then again, that show's different. So I'm just very, very worried, just because of the fact that I want this to be good. It's kind of like what is it? Isn't Amazon the one who's going to be streaming Coming to America 2? Is it this month? Honestly, I haven't heard anything about Coming to America 2 in a while. I know that it was sold to Amazon, I believe, for streaming as opposed to theaters for obvious reasons, but you would have thought there would have been a trailer or something by now, but I don't know. Maybe it's coming out Christmas Day. I haven't checked to look, but all I gotta say is I hope Sister Act 3 is good, but I don't have high expectations for it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's like, if it's great, by all means, I feel like that's a win for everyone. But in the day and age we live in, where there's sequels, reboots, or really in Disney's case, a lot of live action remakes of animated classics, I don't really get that excitement, because it's like, well, if I just want to watch The Lion King, I'll watch the animated one. Or if I want to watch Charlie's Angels, I'll watch the OG series from back in the day that I used to watch on TV Land, as opposed to watching any kind of gritty reboot. So when it comes to Sister Act 3, in most cases, don't get me wrong, the music pretty much overshadows everything else. But at the end of the day, both films had solid stories, cast of characters. So what I don't want to see in this Disney Plus variation of it, I don't want to see like a bunch of, I guess you could say, internet celebrities just for glorified cameos, as opposed to creating lovable characters. Like, if you go back to the first couple of films, especially like the first one, a majority of the characters were nuns, and each one of them had their own kind of personality. It was almost like, Mary Clarence was in the, or wait, what was her name? Dolores Van Cartier, right? But yeah, Dolores. So it was based like Dolores was in the Smurfs in a way. What I mean by that is, obviously she's the outsider. She comes into a village, the nuns, almost like the Smurfs. Like, when it comes to the Smurfs, there's a bunch of them. They look the same for the most part, but they all had their own personality. That's kind of how I felt about the nuns. So when you get to the second film, of course, the nuns kind of took a little bit of a backseat, because we really only focused on about 3 to 5 of them, where most of the character came from the students at the school. So I feel like when it comes to Sister Act 3, it's probably going to be like Whoopi Goldberg or, Sister Mary Clarence in more of a mentor-ish role again, where it's going to be about like Sister Act 3, the new class, so to speak. I remember a few years ago, weren't they saying like Tiffany Haddish was supposed to be in like a Sister Act reboot or whatever? Honestly, I wouldn't really care for that, because once again, if you take Tyler Perry and Tiffany Haddish and combine them, if you watch Nobody's Fool, then you know where I'm going with this. It's not going to really turn out well, but we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, hang on a second. The article says the 1992 original was a box office hit and won the praise of fans. Its sequel, released the following year, received a lukewarm critical reaction and drew in smaller audiences, but both films have retained a cult following since their release. Yeah, that's how it is most of the time when these movies come out. They might not get the high praise and acclaim when they first hit theaters, but I mean, looking at the movies almost 30 years later, you can't tell me the second one isn't beloved. So that's all I got to say about this particular news. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for Sister Act 3? Do you even think we need one? I think for me, like, the most shocking fact was like the Tyler Perry producer thing, just because that alone makes me nervous. But once again, kudos to Tyler for spreading his wings and, like, again, he branching over to Disney Plus. We got young Dylan on Nickelodeon. Now he's working for this movie on Disney Plus. So by all means, Godspeed ahead. But I just hope that if it isn't just Tyler working on the film, that they just take their time. Remember that Sister Act had 2 films, but almost 30 years later, it has a huge cult following. So please just do right by the film, come up with some great music, get the right cast together, get a compelling story. That way Sister Act 3 can be like the Sister Act 1 to a new generation. So with that being said, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you all for supporting the channel. I promise that this upcoming week, I will be doing a lot of DVD giveaways. That way I can put them in the mail system before Christmas, because I got another huge batch of items to put on eBay. So around maybe like next Saturday or next Tuesday, I have USPS come get everything and we'll be good to go. But be on the lookout. Hence why you need to really follow me on Instagram. I know some people don't have Instagram, but it's the easiest way. Unless I decide to like just say email me your address, but I'll figure things out within the next 24 hours. But again, let me know your thoughts on Sister Act 3. Make sure you like and subscribe. Shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. Or if you want to donate to the channel another way, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App.